You thought Texas was just heat and dust, cowboys, oil rigs, endless highways. But the highway doesn't end. You do. Because out there something waits. Not behind trees, not under your bed, but under the asphalt, in the mirrors, in the gaps between signal loss and static. Something that remembers, something that replaces. These aren't ghost stories. They're leftovers, from roads that loop, from voices that hum in your throat, from reflections that blink before you do. Tonight you'll hear about them. The girl who hums in the canyon, the pizza box that loops in time, the gas station that trades in years, not gallons, and the photo that forgot to include you. So turn off the lights. And whatever you do, don't look behind you when the story says your name, because it might not be your name anymore. Pause. And hey, if you're still listening right now, thank you, truly. I spend weeks writing, narrating, editing these stories. Just me, alone, in the dark, hoping someone out there's listening. If you like this kind of slow, weird, unsettling horror, please consider subscribing. It helps more than you know. Each one tells me, hey, someone's still out there. Someone wants more. And I promise the stories only get stranger from here. Story number 1. The Slide on Highway 277. They say the road doesn't change, only the eyes that look at it. I've driven Highway 277 in between Del Rio and Abilene more times than I care to count. Hauled everything from frozen chicken to sheetrock through it. I know its cracks, its bends, the color of the dirt in daylight, and how it turns copper at dusk. I know where the deer cross, where the truckers park, to sleep where the asphalt buckles under too much sun. And I know with a kind of quiet certainty, you don't admit out loud that something out there doesn't want to be seen, but watches. 3 summers ago, I was running late. Midnight became 2 a.m., and the desert air was thick with heat that wouldn't lift. I was alone. No headlights ahead, none behind. Just me, engine hum and AM static from a station out of Lubbock that kept fading in and out. The world outside the windshield was still. Too still. The kind of still that feels loaded. Like something was holding itself just out of sight. Like if you blinked too long it would move. That stretch between Sonora and the Pecos turnoff always felt wrong. Not because of the road's fine. But the silence out there isn't empty. It's full. Like something's holding its breath. Like something remembers things we forgot. I've had tires blow out there. Birds fly into my windshield, once even saw a tumbleweed roll uphill, but that night made all the rest feel like warnings I didn't take. Around 2:20, I saw her. At first I thought it was a hitchhiker, woman, tall, barefoot, white dress, long hair, standing in the center line like she hadn't moved in hours. I tapped the brakes. She didn't flinch, didn't look, just stood there. What got me, what made my gut clench, was that the high beams didn't cast a shadow. Not behind, not beneath. The light passed through her like fog. I hit the brakes, hard. The trailer fishtailed slightly tires, screaming against heat-softened blacktop. The rig groaned as it lurched sideways onto the shoulder. My chest slammed into the seatbelt. Dust bloomed around the cab like smoke. And just before the world settled, I felt it. Something was next to me. I didn't turn, couldn't. But the air changed, thickened. The passenger side window vibrated though the engine was off. And on the edge of my hearing breath, slow, deliberate wet, like it had lungs but no throat, like it wanted to learn mine. The rear-view mirror showed nothing, except the smudge on the glass, like a handprint, but too small, child-sized, fingers too long, pressed there with force in rust-colored dirt. I reached out to wipe it and pulled my hand back fast. It wasn't just dirt. It smelled like turned soil and old meat. My hand tingled after touching it, like it had aged a few days in a second. I started the truck and drove. Didn't check the GPS, didn't look back, just white-knuckled the wheel and prayed to a God I haven't believed in since I was 9. My throat was tight. My ears rang. Every few seconds I thought I could hear something dragging along the side of the cab like fingertips on corrugated metal. When I finally reached the Del Rio truck stop, the sky was just beginning to gray. I stumbled out, legs shaking, walked around to the passenger side. That handprint was still there, but now it had smeared 4 parallel streaks down the door, like it had slid while the truck was moving, like it had been trying to hold on. And something else, tiny bits of what looked like fingernail stuck in the rubber seal of the doorframe. A tooth, too. Small, mottled, human. I checked the GPS history later. According to the system, I'd veered off the 277 for 4 miles. Into nothing. Literally, the map showed no road, just scrubland and dried riverlets. Yet my odometer didn't match. It read like I'd never left the highway. But my gas tank was down almost half. That math doesn't work. There's more. That week I had dreams. Same one, over and over. I'm in the passenger seat. But I'm not me. I'm watching me. The version of me driving isn't breathing. His head is turned too far around. Spine twisted, eyes wide, mouth grinning. And something in the back seat moves slowly. Long limbs, no face. Just watching. I wake up with the taste of metal in my mouth and bruises on my shoulder I didn't go to sleep with. Next time I took that route, I left earlier. Swore I wouldn't be on that stretch past midnight. But I hit a delay outside Eagle Pass, got stuck behind a flipped cattle trailer. By the time I was clear, it was 2:17. The radio cut out. Then came a voice. Not over the radio, inside the cab, behind my ear. I don't walk, it whispered. I slide. My GPS flickered, showed 2 routes at once. One labeled 277. The other had no name, just a pulsing red line curling west into black. I turned the device off. The cab started to smell, like burnt rubber and hair. The kind of smell you can't wash off your skin. I drove with the windows down after that, no matter how hot it was. 2 days later, I found sand in my bed. Desert sand. Fine. Pale. Smelled like old fire. Last month I drove out in daylight, parked at mile marker 117 near where it happened. Walked the shoulder. Took photos. Nothing strange. Until I kicked something half buried in the brush. A photo. Burned around the edges. Stuck in the dirt like it had been waiting. It was of me. In uniform. Standing beside the woman in white. Her face was clear. Mine had been scratched out. No eyes, no mouth. Just torn paper where I should have been. Her neck in the photo was bent backward. Impossible angle. But she was smiling. Big. Too big. I still have that photo, locked in a drawer. Every time I open it, it's in a slightly different position. Last week, her hand was reaching toward the corner. I don't know what happens when she reaches it. I got a flat 2 nights ago. Guess where? I don't drive that road anymore. And I check the passenger seat. Every time I stop. The print's still there, by the way. Won't wash off. Rust-colored. Sharp at the tips. I once tried scraping it with a knife. The blade chipped. I took it to a lab once, a friend of mine in Corpus who analyzes residues. He said it wasn't dirt. It was powdered enamel and something he couldn't name. Not synthetic. Not organic. Just wrong. I locked the doors that night. I'm sure of it. But when I reached Del Rio, there was dirt on the inside handle. Like something opened it from the other side. Like it never left. Like it's still sliding. This one stuck with me. There's something about highways, especially the long, empty ones, that just feel wrong after midnight. And I don't know what's worse, the idea that something's out there, or the thought that it might already be riding with you. If this story gave you chills, let me know in the comments. Hit like if it made you look at your passenger seat just a little differently. And subscribe if you want more stories like this. I've got 6 more coming in this video alone. Now, let's keep going. The next one's waiting. Story number 2. The Lullaby Beneath Palo Duro. They say you only hear it if you're alone. Really alone. The kind of alone where even your skin forgets it has a name. I've hiked most of the major canyons in the southwest, solo camped through thunderstorms and flash floods, even once got followed by a bobcat outside Tucson. I know how to be alone. I like it. But Palo Duro wasn't like any of those places. The quiet there doesn't hold still. It leans in. It was early fall 2021. The park had already thinned out. I picked a closed trail that wrapped along the eastern wall, an older route shut down after some rock falls in '97. No tourists, no rangers, just me, my one-person tent, a backup GoPro, and a clip mic for audio logs. I like to record impressions when I travel, helps me make sense of the world. I even say my name at the start of every clip, like a breadcrumb. The first night, just before sundown, I heard the lullaby. At least that's what it felt like. I was stringing up the tarp when a soft tone rode the wind. Not lyrics, not a melody exactly, but rhythm. Repetitive, wet. Like a hum wrapped in velvet, low and circular. I thought it might have been air slipping between the cracks in the canyon wall. But it wasn't echoing the way wind does. It came in pulses, like it was inhaling. I pulled out the recorder, pressed it to the edge of the rock, listened live through my headset. The humming stopped. Playback had nothing. No hum. But about 15 seconds in, just as I was unzipping the tent in the background, I caught something else. Crunching. Close. Like cartilage being chewed. The air that night was warm, but felt cold behind my ears. You know that feeling when the wind doesn't touch your face, but your eardrums pull inward, like someone's whispering behind your neck. I left the mic recording just outside the tent. Didn't sleep much. Every now and then, I thought I heard fingers brushing canvas. Not scratching, stroking. Around 3:30 a.m., I woke up to what I thought was a cough. Not mine. Outside. It was small and wet, like a child clearing its throat after crying. When I flicked on my headlamp, the inside of the tent was wet with condensation, except for one line, like something had licked it. From top to bottom. The breath mist had been wiped clean, like a tongue had passed through. That's not metaphor. It looked real. I stepped out. Ground was soft. I wear minimalist trail shoes, so I can feel texture. The earth wasn't dry like it should be. It had been churned. Small divots, shallow grooves, knee marks, and around the tent in an almost perfect spiral were child-sized footprints, some overlapping, most incomplete. 1 foot dragging slightly like the owner had a limp. I counted 4 rotations, each inward step tighter, smaller, until the last imprint was directly behind where my head had lain. The next morning I checked my GoPro. I always wear it when setting camp, especially on risky terrain. The SD card had a time-stamped clip labeled with my usual naming scheme. Only I hadn't activated it. The clip was short, a little under a minute, but the footage was wrong. It started mid-record, not with the usual camera click. The angle was shaky, like someone holding it chest level. The lens bobbed slightly as it moved, panning slowly toward the cliff edge where I'd set up. My voice came in halfway low, drawn out, whispering, "Who's crawling behind me?" I never said that. I played it 3 times. My mouth never formed that sentence. In the reflection of a piece of foil pack, just for a split second, I could see the camera operator. Short, pale, scalp too tight. Lips split sideways like torn cloth, and then static, just a single frame. White face, pressed against the lens, one eye missing just socket. Gone in half a second. Frame wouldn't delete. OS flagged the file as system protected. Source unknown. That second night, I was too tired to keep watch. I remember laying down and thinking about the groove of the rock under my spine, how it felt like it had fingers. I dreamt of being folded, not metaphorically. My body creased, knees bent backward, spine wrapped forward. Each vertebrae clicked inwards like folding a paper doll. But there was no pain, just the sound of fabric tearing. I woke up soaked, not sweat. The air inside the tent felt exhaled, like it had lungs. My sleeping bag was torn from the back spine to hip, not slashed unstitched. The zipper curled into a question mark. On my back, just along the shoulder blades, was a dry smear of blood. Old, flaking, and tucked inside my shoe, a tiny square of paper, damp and warped, with something scrawled in red crayon. "Mum doesn't sing anymore. You do it now." By then, I'd had enough. I packed to leave. GPS on my watch went dead. Phone showed no signal. Compass spun. I hiked in one direction for nearly 2 hours, following the sun, thinking I was heading east. Eventually, I came over a ridge and saw it, my tent. Set up, untouched, footprints still around it. But no incoming tracks, only out, as if I'd walked circles through time, not distance. My bag had a new addition. One strand of hair, long and black, coiled into a wet spiral around the zipper. I'm blonde. I activated the emergency beacon that evening. Took almost 48 hours before a chopper spotted me. They said I'd been on a restricted side of the canyon. No trails, no signs of recent passage. My boots, though, had print overlaps, like someone had been walking underneath my steps. Back home, I checked my audio logs. Every single file, no matter the content, now had a low hum embedded. Same pattern. 3 seconds on, 3 seconds off. I played it through a spectrograph. The waveform looked like a mouth. Open, close, open, close. A doctor I saw for my throat, after I noticed my voice cracking in strange ways, told me there was scar tissue along my vocal folds, like a partial surgery, but I'd never had one. He said the shape resembled a clef note, that I might have been trained to make certain tones, or keep certain ones out. Sometimes when I record new logs, my voice comes through layered, as if something's harmonizing beneath it. A child's register. Not mine. Not just an echo, a counterpoint. I've tried deleting the files. They come back. I've tried changing recorders. The new one hums before I turn it on. So I've stopped recording. But some nights when the wind comes from the west, I hear it anyway. That hum, like a breath with intention, a lullaby with teeth. I hum back just to see if it answers. It doesn't. It waits. You shouldn't go to Paladura alone. Not because something will hurt you, but because it wants to sing with you. And it can't do that if you are not the one left behind. If you hear the song, don't answer. That note isn't yours. It never was. This one really unsettled me. There's something about sound, especially when no one else is around to hear it, that makes you question what's real. And the idea that a canyon could remember a voice and need another one to replace it, that stuck with me. Let me know in the comments if you've ever heard something that wasn't there, especially when you were alone. And if this story got under your skin, give it a like. Subscribe if you want more stories that don't just scare, they stay. The next one's coming, but it might not wait for you to be ready. Story number 3. Burned but breathing. It was spring 2020. Middle of the first lockdown, and I was taking any job that paid in cash. No questions, no paperwork. I got a letter. A physical letter. No return address. Just a yellowed envelope with my name printed on it, and a request to inspect the power box and breaker grid of an abandoned church off the Old Farm Road near San Angelo. Inside the envelope, 8 crisp $100 bills and a note. I just need to know if it still reacts when touched. I've been an electrician for over 30 years. Old hospital's barn's a slaughterhouse in McAllen that still smelled like bile and burned hair. Nothing phases me. I've walked into places where the air buzzed with leftover voltage like bees stuck in amber. But this church, this one didn't buzz. It pulsed. From the moment I pulled up, I knew it hadn't been just left alone. It had been buried alive. The sign said, St. H. Parish half, the letters rusted off, but the structure was intact. No char on the stone, no roof collapse. The local legend said it burned down in the 60s, but this place hadn't burned. It had been heated, like a mouth kept clenched until the teeth turned soft. The moment I opened the doors, I tasted something thick on my tongue. Not rot, not mold. It was the taste of old grease. Human, maybe? The air was 20 degrees hotter than outside. No heat source. The sun was behind the clouds. I wiped my forehead. My hand came back, slick with something that wasn't sweat. It glistened, smelled like pork fat left in a sealed jar. The pews ran in 2 lines down the nave, warped but whole, their cushions stained a deep yellow grey. I stepped on the aisle. The floor gave under me, not creaked, but yielded like a rib cage under pressure. It made a wet noise, like cooked cartilage. I walked slower. Every few feet there were blotches, patches of film on the wood like translucent fat. I crouched down and touched one. My fingertip came away coated in something that moved. Not liquid, not solid. It smeared, then recoiled like it didn't want to be touched. I smelled my glove. Still nothing rotten. But I gagged anyway. Near the altar, the heat thickened. Not higher, just heavier. Like the air had a skin. The crucifix above the pulpit sagged slightly at the edges, as if the wood had melted and reformed. I touched the rail beside the choir pit. It was room temperature, but left a blister on my palm. No noise, no hiss, just a bubble of skin that rose instantly. I stood dead center on the chancel and stared at the floor. There was a dark ring, maybe 6 feet wide, charcoal-colored, but not burned, like it had been drawn there by evaporation. My boots stuck slightly, not to sap, to suction. I crouched again, pulled a screwdriver from my belt, pressed it to the floor. The moment the tip touched the circle, the wood dented inward. No crack, just yield, like stabbing a lung. I pulled back, something in the air sighed. I turned to leave, but caught something in the corner of my eye, a person, sitting. 4th pew, left side, figure facing the wall, shoulders hunched, hair down. No movement. "Hello?" I asked. No answer. I blinked. When I opened my eyes, they were gone. I walked to the pew. The seat was slick, damp, a stain where the back had touched it. 2 long grooves down each side, 12 total, like someone had gripped it with both hands and pulled until their nails broke. I turned toward the altar. There was a mirror behind it, maybe from a confessional booth, long since torn down, cracked down the center, spiderwebbed at the edges. I stepped closer. My reflection wasn't right. Not that it didn't match me. It matched too well. Same clothes, same posture. But the face, it was me, but smiling, slowly. A smile too wide, too symmetrical, like someone else wearing my face. And then the head in the reflection rotated. Not side to side. Backward, like it had no spine. I stepped back, fell, scrambled up. The mirror was empty. I ran, out the doors, into the light. My truck was where I left it. I got in, hands shaking, fired it up, left the tools, didn't care, didn't stop until I hit pavement again. That night I dumped my clothes, every last piece, still felt it on my skin. The next morning I found something in my pocket, a folded scrap, leather, too thin for jacket, too thick for paper. I unfolded it. It was skin, human, curled and dry, but still elastic. Someone had etched into it, sit in the correct seat. I threw it away, lit it on fire. It didn't burn, it steamed, like it remembered something. Later that week, my shoulder blistered, just under the collarbone. A welt like a burn, but no heat. It cracked when I bent down, leaked something fine and grey. Ash. Every morning I wipe it off. Every morning it comes back. My boots left black prints on linoleum, on concrete. No one else could see them. I know because I asked. They laughed, said I was tracking soot from some job. I didn't argue. I checked the camera 2 weeks later. I had mounted a GoPro to my hard hat, as always. Just habit. I hadn't looked at the footage since. I shouldn't have. There was a gap. 14 minutes. Not corrupted. Not missing. Just different. I watched myself stand in the middle of the church, not moving, arms at sides, blood dripping from fingertips, face blank, staring forward. Around me, the pews began to smoke. Not burn, no flame, but smoke lifted from the cushions, like they were exhaling. Then one by one they ignited. Not with fire, with noise, the snap of tendons, the hiss of fat hitting steel. Each pew collapsed inward, wood curling like fingers. I never moved. At the end of the footage, the camera tilted, showed me, sitting in the front pew, hands folded, shirt open, chest still, and behind me, still standing, still filming, was me. But the me sitting wasn't real. It was too still, too posed, and it smiled. Not with lips, with the whole body, like it liked being watched. I shut the laptop, haven't opened that file again. But sometimes when I sleep, I dream I'm in that pew. I feel the heat under my thighs, feel the backrest flex with my breath. But I'm not breathing. The heat isn't heat, it's memory, and I'm the one holding it. I tried seeing a doctor, told him I might have been exposed to something toxic. He said the ash on my shoulder wasn't ash. Said it was keratin and salt. Said it was sloughing like the body shedding skin before a molt. He asked if I'd been in any high-temperature environments. I didn't answer. Last week, someone mailed me another letter. Same envelope, same yellow paper. No return address, just a line. You left your seat. We saved it for you. I haven't slept since. But I've been warm. Too warm. The mirrors don't show me anymore. Just someone sitting, hands clasped, head bowed. No movement, but the back of their shirt still damp. I don't know about you, but this one left me feeling gross. Some stories haunt you. This one, it feels like it sticks to you. That smell, the pews, the mirror. I've heard a lot of creepy stories, but this one I don't even want to reread it. If you made it through this one, I mean really made it through, let me know in the comments. Drop a like if it made your skin crawl. And if you're still with me, hit subscribe so you don't miss what's next. But fair warning, the next story isn't any cleaner. Story number 4. The face that wasn't taken. My name's Caleb. I was 17 when it started. New school, new town, Dad gone. Mum wasn't really around, even if she sat across from me at dinner. We moved to Beaumont, Texas, middle of my senior year. First day at our high, I knew something felt off. Not just the usual new kid weirdness. The floors felt slippery. Not visibly, not wet. But every step I took felt like it didn't quite belong. Like the tile itself was trying to forget I stepped there. A few kids looked at me funny. Not the bullying kind, the recognition kind. Like I reminded them of someone. Like they'd seen me before. But no one said it. And by the end of the week, I figured I was just projecting. I kept to myself mostly. Until photo day. We were called out to the field group shot for the senior class. I stood dead center, next to two people I sat beside every day. We laughed. We posed. The photographer even double-checked names. Someone snapped a few candids on their phone. In those, I was there. Plain as day. Same hoodie. Same stupid half smile I always hated. But when the official photo came back, my spot was empty. Not blurred, not obscured, just space, as if the camera had never seen me. The two kids I stood between arms draped like they were leaning on someone. Someone not there. I brought it up, showed the phone pics. They shrugged it off, said maybe I left before the shutter. Except, one of them sent me a text the moment after it was taken. Why'd you smile like that, bro? You look possessed, LOL. I showed him the message. He looked confused. Said I didn't send that to you. That's when it started. Teachers marked me absent, even when I raised my hand. They'd apologize, scribble something, but the attendance sheet would still list me missing. One day, I went to check the printed class roster taped outside the door. My name was gone. Not crossed out. Just never there. I logged into the student portal account inactive. Tried my ID badge, it scanned red. But my face was still on the screen. No name. Just unknown student. At home, Mum didn't notice. She never looked straight at me anymore. I tried asking questions. She'd nod, half answer. But always like I was someone else. Or maybe no one at all. Then came the dream. It wasn't really a dream, more like a weight. I was underwater. Not cold, not gasping, just heavy, sinking slow. Above me, I could see sunlight. Or maybe it was stadium lights, blurred by ripples. There were voices, teachers calling roll, students laughing, one voice louder than the rest. My homeroom teacher. Caleb, are you here today? And I tried to answer. But my mouth didn't work. I woke up soaked in sweat. My pillow smelled like algae. The next day I stayed after school, found an old filing cabinet behind the drama room. Digging through old blueprints, I found one labeled 1986, Campus Grounds, the athletic field. It used to be a pond, a real one, big, deep, drained and filled in after a group incident. The paper didn't say what kind, just that 4 students went missing. 3 recovered, 1 not. The name was redacted, but the year matched. The next week, I went to the photo lab, asked to see the raw files from picture day. The tech hesitated, but handed over a flash drive. I opened it on my laptop, found the frame, zoomed in. Behind the group under their feet, there was a reflection. The kind that shouldn't be there. The field was dry that day, but in the shadow patch under the kids' sneakers there was me. Or something with my shape. Eyes missing, mouth open. Floating face up in a shimmer that looked too much like water. I showed no one. Tried to delete it. The file glitched. Said, access denied. File in use. That night I heard splashing outside my window. We lived nowhere near water, but it came again the next night, and the next, until I stopped looking. One morning, I reached into my backpack and pulled out a school photo I didn't remember taking. It was the same group shot, but from a different angle. Ground level, looking up, like the camera was buried. In it, I was walking past the field, mid-step. But from below, you could see under my feet, and there in a soft ripple of light was me again, underwater. Reaching up, the reflection smiled. I didn't. I tried getting help, counselors, teachers, but they all looked confused when I gave my name. Are you from last year's class? Were you transferred in? Are you on the wait list? Eventually, someone asked if I was shadowing. I said yes, just to get them to stop. They let me sit in the library after that. Didn't make eye contact. One librarian left a note on my book once. You're not overdue yet. But soon, my locker stopped opening. Combo worked, but there was nothing inside, just water damage on a shelf that was supposed to be dry. The walls around it peeled in layers, like old skin. I stopped going to class, just wandered the halls, sat on benches, listened to announcements that never mentioned me, until one day I saw the photo, printed, laminated, hung on the senior memories board. I was there, sort of. Right spot, right clothes, but no face, just static, like someone had scratched the emulsion. I touched it. The lamination was wet. I left fingerprints. When I looked again, the static had shifted into a smile. I didn't come home that night. Not really. Mom didn't ask. I stayed in my room, lights off, window closed, but I could hear dripping from the closet. I didn't open it, just moved the dresser in front, in case. My phone buzzed at 2:20 a.m. Unknown number. One photo, me, lying face up, in the shallow end of a field that hadn't held water in 30 years. My mouth was open, but the caption said, "Say cheese." I don't think I'm real anymore. I think I was. Once. But something else wore that face better. Something from underneath. Something that smiles more naturally. Something that didn't mind getting wet. I still hear the roll call. Still feel my name on someone's tongue. But they never say it right. Never fully. Just like they forgot or were warned not to finish. Maybe it's better this way. I still walk the halls sometimes. I still sit in the frame. I'm just not in focus. And when new students come, I smile, wide, too wide, and wait for the photo to develop. That one didn't feel like a horror story. It felt like a slow erasure. Not being hunted, not being haunted, just forgotten. And honestly, I think that's scarier. Losing your name, your place, watching people look right through you. If that story made you feel something, even if you can't explain what, drop a like and let me know in the comments. Have you ever walked into a room and felt like you weren't all the way there? And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's a good time. There are more stories like this one. Not louder, just deeper. Let's keep going. Story number 5. The final delivery, New Year's Eve, 2022. I was 23. Still working night shifts at a pizza place in North Texas. Not a chain, just this family-run spot near the edge of town. The kind of place that still used paper tickets and let you smoke behind the building if you weren't wearing your name tag. I wasn't planning on taking any more runs that night. It was cold, foggy, almost midnight, and the ovens were shutting down. But then the screen on the POS flickered like a CRT hiccup, and a new order slid in. 1 medium pepperoni extra cheese, paid in cash. Address listed as Route 0. Not a joke, that's all it said. Route 0. No town, no street name, just that. And below it in the delivery instructions, you accepted this. Continue. I didn't touch anything. The app just locked. GPS arrow popped up like normal and started blinking east. My manager told me to ignore it. It's a system error, she said, but her tablet couldn't cancel it either. Every time she tried, the screen just froze, then rebooted. Finally, she threw her hands up. Whatever. Take it if you want. I didn't want to, but the app wouldn't close unless I tapped start root. So I did, and the screen unlocked. The roads it told me to take weren't real. That's the thing. They weren't listed. They didn't even have signs, just offshoots of farm roads and half-paved trails through bare fields. The fog got thicker. The moon disappeared. I was driving into silence. No animals, no wind, no stars, just the occasional fence post with barbed wire that wasn't connected to anything. The headlights caught movement once, just once, like a shadow rolling through the fog on the shoulder. I slowed. Nothing was there. I checked the back seat. Empty. The fog hit the glass like it had weight. I drove slower. Lower beams, windows up. After about 20 minutes, I saw a house. One story. Tin roof. Paint peeled off in chunks. The porch light was off, but the door was open just a crack, and next to the threshold, a wooden chair. On it, an empty pizza box, like someone had eaten here already. The odd thing was, there were boots beside the chair. Still tied, still standing upright, still warm when I touched them. They weren't just warm, they were damp inside, like someone had sweated through them and left in a hurry. The inside of one had a folded napkin, my store's napkin. Written on it in red pen, "You've come full circle." I knocked. No answer. I waited. Knocked again. Then, like I'd rehearsed it, I placed the box on the chair. I turned back toward the car and saw the mailbox swing open. Inside, folded cash. Bills creased and slightly damp. The top one had a smudge of dark red near the corner. It wasn't sticky, but it wasn't dry either. Tucked behind the cash was a receipt. Not one we printed. It was handwritten shaky-like by someone with tremors. All it said was, "Thanks for coming back. Hope this one tastes better." I got back in the car. My knuckles were white. Engine started slow, like something in the air was thicker now. On the way back, the GPS map didn't show any of the turns I had taken. Just a blank grid with my position pulsing at the center. At one point, the screen went black for 5 seconds. When it came back, it was daytime on the map, but night outside the window. When I returned to the store, no one mentioned anything. No order on the books. No time deducted from my shift. When I asked the manager about the 11:42 ticket, she just blinked and said, "You've been restocking the freezer. You never left." But my uniform told a different story. The sleeve was stained, like someone had grabbed it with muddy fingers. I reached into the delivery pouch and found a receipt I didn't remember printing. Folded once. Slightly torn. Same handwriting. "Next time, come earlier. It's cold." The ticket stub had something else on the back. A sketch. My sketchbook was still at home, but I recognized the line work. I must have drawn it. The same porch, same chair. But in the sketch, the chair was empty. The box was gone. But the boots were standing on the roof, upside down. I checked the dash cam. It glitched halfway through. But there was one frame, just one, that showed the side mirror of the car. And in it, a reflection. Someone was standing behind me, wearing the same jacket, same hat, same badge with my name. But the face was gone, just blur and static. I searched the order history again. Nothing recent, but one ticket was flagged from 7 months prior. Incomplete. Same item, same address, same cash note. I wasn't working that month. I'd taken time off after the crash. I don't even remember applying to the job until August, but the date on the ticket was June 4th. I looked in the glove box, hoping for something, a clue, a map. What I found was a photo, Polaroid, taken in daylight. Same house, same porch. I was in the frame, holding a pizza box, handing it to a child whose face had been burned out, literally, like someone held a lighter to the photo. No eyes, no features, just a smear of melted film. On the back it said, "First delivery, 6/4/20. I didn't deliver that. Not in June, not ever. But there I was, in full uniform, smiling. There was dirt under my nails when I woke up the next morning. Not regular dirt, grey, ashy. Smelled like matches. My hands weren't bruised, but they hurt, like I'd been carrying something heavy, something metal. My phone showed a missed call from an unknown number at 3:17 a.m. No voicemail. But when I tapped the number, the screen just flickered, like it didn't know what to do with it. Since that night I've been waiting. Every time I log in, I wonder if the order will come back. I've moved stores, changed phones, but every New Year's Eve, right around 11:40, my screen flickers. Not every time, just most. Last year I refused. I turned off the app, went home, and found a slice of pizza, my store's recipe, sitting on my welcome mat. Cold, wrapped in wax paper, with a note. That's okay. You delivered more than once. I checked the trash after that. The slice was gone. Not eaten. Gone. Wrapper too. Only thing left was the napkin, creased, stained, torn. I still have it. Can't throw it away. It feels like if I do, I'll break the loop, or maybe finish it. I don't think it's a prank. I don't think it's about the pizza. I think some houses don't need an address. They just need you to remember them. I think some jobs don't end when you clock out. They wait, they rot, and when the timer hits 0, they deliver you. Not the other way around. The next time I see that ticket, I'm going. Not because I want to, but because I think maybe I was the customer. Maybe I never left the porch. Maybe I'm still out there, waiting for myself. One more time. I've worked night shifts. I've delivered food to places I don't even remember getting to. But this one, it felt a little too close. You ever get the feeling like a job is using you, not the other way around? Like you didn't clock in. You got called. I don't know what's worse, the idea that this was a loop, or that he was never the driver, just the package. If that story messed with your head a little like it did mine, hit like. And subscribe if you want more stories that don't just end, they wait. Tell me in the comments if that delivery came to your door. Would you answer it? Story number 6. The gas station at mile marker 109. They told me the route from El Paso to Austin was straight, dull, and predictable. I guess they weren't wrong if you only drove it once. But when you're behind the wheel every other week, clocking miles, while the desert dries out your gums and the radio can't even hold a station long enough to play a whole damn song, you start to notice things. The road peels. Not the pavement, but the space around it peels away like a sunburned scalp. Leaves something raw. Mile marker 109 was where it started itching for me. Didn't know that at the time. Just knew I was low on gas tired, and the drizzle wasn't enough to clean my windshield, just smear the dust into mud-streaked halos. GPS blinked to life and spat out something I didn't expect station ahead. 4 miles. Open. I squinted at the map. That stretch was supposed to be dead. Just dust and power lines, and the occasional border patrol checkpoint. But I was running low, so I listened. I always listened to the voice when it made itself clear. You drive long enough, you start to believe machines can sense things before you do. The rain got thicker. Not real rain. Just enough to haze the glass, but too little to make a sound. The kind of rain that doesn't want to fall, it just clings. I saw the glow before I saw the building. Faint neon against fog. The station looked old, but not abandoned. Not quite. You know how some places feel forgotten, but still watching. That was this place. One story, tin roof, concrete lot with cracks shaped like veins. And the sign, oh hell, the sign. Flickering green and red, regret leaded 87. Thought it was a joke. Some failed rebrand from the 80s. But the pump worked. I didn't scan anything. I just lifted the handle, and the meter clicked over like it had been waiting for me. The nozzle was warm. I kept glancing at the store window. It was dark behind the glass. One pane had a spiderweb crack, like something had hit it from the inside. Not shattered, just stressed like the glass was clenching its teeth. I finished pumping and waited for the beep. Instead, the POS screen blinked 3 times and showed this 1366.13. No price, no gallons, just time. Then the receipt printed. I'll never forget that smell. Paper that's been in a fire but didn't burn. Char ink, a little like copper. The text read, paid in time. Next delivery due. My watch started ticking backward right then. I don't mean metaphorically. I don't mean I hallucinated. I mean the second hand reversed. I didn't panic. Not then. You don't panic on the road. You file it. You tell yourself you'll unpack it at the next truck stop with bad coffee and worse lighting. I got back in the cab. The passenger door was open. I hadn't opened it. The seat was dented like someone had been sitting there. Still warm, like someone about my weight slouched forward, arms on knees. My gut curled inward, not out of fear, just memory. Like I'd dropped something important and couldn't remember what. I reached for the rear view and wiped the fog with my sleeve. My reflection didn't move. My face, my real one, blinked. The one in the mirror didn't. It was looking at me, not with recognition, with expectation. The drive to Austin was a blur. The clock in the dash died somewhere outside Marfa. My watch kept running backward until it hit what looked like 12 and then it stopped. Just stopped. At the drop yard, the guy checking me in didn't mention anything weird. But he looked at my hands, funny, like I'd been digging. I checked later. My nails had grit in them. Fine black sand. Smelled like burnt wiring. I took off my jacket. Something crinkled in the pocket. A card. Embossed like a hotel key, but thicker. Black with silver lettering burned into it. It read, Fuel Receipt. Jan 3, 1989. That was the date the 109 station supposedly blew up. 3 dead, no survivors. Station shut down, off every map. Locals won't talk about it. I thought it was a prank. Maybe I blacked out, some arsehole planted it on me. So I checked my dashcam. Footage was intact until the minute I pulled into the station. Then static, then a jump, then me. But I wasn't driving. Not really. The man behind the wheel had my jacket, my hat, my watch. But his left ear was gone. Just a blood socket. One frame stuck out. Blink and you miss it. Camera panned to the side window, catching the pump island. A man stood there. Overalls. Grease stained. No face. Just steam rising off where his head should have been. Like the inside was hotter than the air could hold. I stopped watching. Nights after that got worse. Not in the usual way. No dreams. Just memories that didn't belong to me. Standing behind glass. Register humming. Rain tapping. Watching trucks pull in and out over and over. But no one ever coming inside. My hands ached in the mornings, like they'd been gripping something too tight. Sometimes I'd wake up with the imprint of a nozzle trigger in my palm. I asked around about the old gas company. Nobody remembered the name on the pump, Regret. I searched the logo, nothing. closest I got was a decommissioned brand from the 70s that went bankrupt after multiple lawsuits over pump fires. But those stations were all torn down. This one wasn't. This one was waiting. Then about 3 months after that night, I got a delivery route change. Temporary, they said. Austin to El Paso, then swing south and back again. I checked the route. GPS updated. Right through mile marker 109. I told myself it was just a stretch of road. Just tarmac and weeds and ghosts of accidents that never got cleaned up. I told myself I wouldn't stop, but I always stopped. Not because I needed gas, but because the pump knew. It turned on when I rolled in. It counted backwards, and I paid. In time. I don't know what I'm fueling anymore. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's the version of me that burned in 1989 and never left. The one behind the glass. The one still ringing up receipts for trucks that never stop. But here's the part I don't tell most folks. One night, rain again, clock stuck again. I tried to skip it. Drove past 109. Didn't even look. I made it 27 miles. Then the road looped. My odometer ticked forward, but the mile markers started over. 109. Again. The pump was on. The nozzle was swinging gently, like someone had just used it. I pulled in. I didn't fight it, because maybe it's not about delivering fuel. Maybe it's about delivering me. Again and again and again. Sometimes when I pass by a mirror in the cab, I don't see myself. I see the window. I see the station. I see the pump island. And someone behind the glass, watching. I don't know if I'm still on the route, or if the route is just me, stretching out, folding back, stuck like the receipt paper in a broken printer. One long strip of regret, never clean cut. I still wear the watch, still ticks backward, still stops at 12 0. But I'm not scared of it anymore. Not because I understand it, but because I think it's mine. That one felt different. Not louder, not sharper, just inevitable. Some stories are about fighting something. This one, it was about realizing you're already inside it. Like it started before you arrived. And it doesn't need your permission to continue. If you felt that too, that quiet, sinking recognition, give the video a like. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Not just for the stories, but for the ones that make you stop and ask, what if the route never ends? Because you're the one being driven, we've still got one more tonight. Let's finish the ride. Story number 7. The Girl in the Basement of Midland Library. I only took the internship because it counted for both credits and hours. I was 19. I didn't have a car, and Midland Public Library was within biking distance of my aunt's house, where I was staying for the summer. That was the logic. Clean, clear, normal. The first time I saw the basement floor plan, I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because I thought I was missing a page. The diagram showed B1, where the children's archives and yearbooks were stored. Then it skipped straight to B3. When I asked about B2, the librarian paused, then said, "You'll figure it out." I didn't ask again. I thought it was some kind of internal test. The smell of the sublevels was different, not like dust or mildew, more like thread, worn sweaters, the kind of texture you could taste when you licked the back of your teeth. I noticed it most when I passed the freight elevator, and when I got my assignment to sort uncategorized donation crates in a locked section marked B2, which I was told wasn't on the blueprint anymore, but still physically there. The lights flickered slower down there. Not the normal fluorescent buzz, more like breath. There was no reception, no security cameras, no exit signs. The hallway ended in a wall of fireproof doors, most permanently locked. I was given a set of 6 keys. One worked. It opened the room at the very end, a storage space labeled private holdings. The boxes weren't labeled. Most weren't books. There were folders with torn covers, ledger books filled with stamps and pasted photographs. Some were burned around the edges, others stuck together like dried fruit. Each evening I logged what I could, then rode home in silence. But the sense of pressure didn't lift. Not even when I was back upstairs. I started seeing her in the mirror first, at night, after brushing my teeth. She didn't move, didn't speak, just stood behind me, half in shadow. Her mouth was sewn shut, not with thread, but with ink. Dark lines curling from the corners of her lips up her cheeks like calligraphy. I thought it was a dream, until I found a photo of her in one of the B2 books. Her name was Etta W., died 1974, suicide, found in the reading well. There is no reading well. I asked again about D aisle, a different librarian this time. She blinked, said nothing, then reached under the desk and handed me a folded cloth map. It was blank, but when I took it downstairs near the B2 door, I saw black lines appear. The 9th aisle. There was a red mark between stacks 913 and 914. That's where I saw the chair. Not a regular library chair. A high-back one, carved old with velvet, so dark it looked wet. Someone had carved letters into the seat. Etchings so thin they looked like veins. The armrests were darker than the rest, worn, like something had gripped them over and over. The chair was facing the wall. I couldn't tell why that detail mattered until later, until I turned it around. There was no seat, just a hole and a length of red cord. After that night, my video logs started changing. Same files, same names, but different recordings. Some were flipped, as if recorded from behind my head. One showed me sitting in the chair, but the time code said it was recorded 3 days before I ever fell. Another was shorter, just static. Then her face. Etta, inches from the lens, eyes inked black, lips curled like stitches, no motion. But every time I paused it, the frame changed. Her head turned more, her mouth opened wider. Her reflection grew closer to mine. I checked my skin, my mouth, my eyes. I was still me. But some part wasn't sure. My notes started appearing in different handwriting. My pens dried faster. The cords on the blinds in my room twisted tighter each morning. One night, I woke up with a red string in my mouth. When I pulled it out, it was wet and knotted. I burned the map, burned my notes, erased the camera logs, didn't go back, but the chair was in my dreams. Every night, the stacks curved around it like a spine, and behind the chair I saw another one, facing it, empty, waiting. Sometimes I woke up sitting, knees locked, mouth dry, hands in my lap, as if I'd already taken the seat. The last entry in the staff logbook was handwritten, in ink too dark to be read. It said, Etta, finally quiet. I don't use mirrors anymore, but sometimes I still see her. Not just in glass, in paper, in the shine of elevator doors, in the flicker of hallway lights, and once in the eyes of someone walking past me who didn't blink for too long. I'm not sure I ever left that basement, or if I'm just the version that made it out. Because now, when I whisper to myself to sleep, the voice that answers back isn't mine, and it always begins the same, welcome back, Etta. And it didn't end with her name. It kept going, adding. Each night I whispered to myself in bed. The answering voice got louder, more confident. Welcome back, Etta. Room 9 has missed you. Your silence was perfect. The bindings held. We're ready now. I thought I could forget it if I stopped speaking. But then even my breath began to echo back things I never said. Things I hadn't read. Sentences in languages I didn't know. Once I coughed and something metallic landed in my palm. A paperclip twisted into the shape of a noose. On my phone, the audio recorder reappeared even after I deleted the app. It auto-started at 3:13 a.m. Each file named after dates I hadn't lived yet. Inside, the only sound was pages turning and the slow, labored pull of a chair dragged across a floor. My aunt found me one morning with ink on my cheeks, curled like stitches. I said it was makeup. She didn't ask again. But that night, I heard her whispering through the air vent. That's not her anymore. I tried to record the mirror, left my phone filming overnight. In the playback, my bed was empty, but someone stood in the corner, holding books, and the camera time code paused every time she turned the page. When the footage resumed, it was from another angle floor level looking up. In the final frame, the camera was in my mouth. I'm still here, or something is. And every time someone tries to check out a book from D aisle, it gets reshelved. Every card filed under E is smudged. And every morning, the chair in the basement, the one without a seat, is a little more warm. Some nights when the wind hits the glass just right, I can hear it dragging again. One chair facing the wall. One chair waiting. This story got to me. Not because it was loud, but because it felt unfinished. Not like it ended, just like it paused. I don't know what's worse, feeling like you're being watched, or realizing you might have been the one watching all along. I don't usually say this, but if you're listening to this late at night, maybe skip the mirror tonight. Just let it rest. If this story stayed with you, hit like. And if you want to hear more, subscribe. Quietly. That's all of them. 7 stories. I'm just sitting here now. The room's quiet. The air feels heavier than when I started. And I don't really have a clean way to wrap it all up. Some videos end with a message, or a question, or a warning. This one just ends. But if you're still here, still listening after all that, then maybe you felt it too. That weight behind each story. That sense that Texas doesn't just collect ghost stories. It absorbs them, holds on to them. And sometimes you get the feeling it's holding on to you too. It's not just the deserts or the silence. It's what leaks through the cracks, what hums under the highways, what doesn't blink when you do. I've lived in Texas most of my life, and even now there are back roads I won't take twice. Towns I drive through without stopping. Places where the sky feels just a little too close. I don't think these stories explain that, but I think they feel like it. Anyway, that's where I'll leave it tonight. No music, no fade out. Just me saying this, thanks for being here. Really.